I'm going to contradict myself today because a few weeks ago I posted an episode called We've Been Played by Tech, and it was basically a 30-minute rant session about how much I hate technology and social media and all of the above. And listen, there were very valid points there. I still stand to all of those. However, in the past 2 weeks, I have used ChatGPT in a way that I think has changed my life. And it is inspired by a book that I read, which I'm going to share with you guys today. But I just think it's crazy. Like, when I did what I'm about to explain to you, what I did, I was like, wow, I love technology. Like, back in the 1800s, no one could have done this right now. Or back 20 years ago, you would have had to pay a therapist basically to do what I did. So let's just get right into it. Let me explain to you what happened. Listen, you guys, in a world that spends most of their time on screens, I am all for a healthy escape. Whether that's just stepping away from the screens or getting lost in a good book for a while, we need that break. And if you're looking for that kind of escape, you have got to check out sarahcrownbooks.com. Some people are born storytellers, and let me tell you, Sarah Crown is one of them. From recording her first stories as a child to studying under top Hollywood story experts like John Truby, she has built a life around words, weaving thrilling narratives with depth and heart. With degrees in psychology, education, and law, Sarah brings a unique perspective to her writing, one that grips readers and just doesn't let go. Trust me, her stories are the perfect way to unplug and dive into something unforgettable. Her latest novel, All These Threads of Time, is the perfect blend of heart-pounding suspense and mind-bending time travel. Set in the 80s, when Sylvie Mitchell discovers that she can jump through time, she's determined to save her family from a serial killer. But the past fights back in ways that she would have never expected. If you love mysteries with a twist and time travel that'll keep you on the edge of your seat, this book is for you. And if you're looking for more than just stories, Sarah's Substack called A Busy Lady is your backstage pass to her writing journey. She takes you behind the scenes with inspiration, writing tips, and more. Whether you're a writer, a reader, or just someone looking to live a more creative life, A Busy Lady will give you the tools and motivation you need. Don't miss out on Sarah's thrilling books and creative wisdom. Check out sarahcrownbooks.com for more information on her books and Substack. That's sarahcrownebooks.com. In stories, we find ourselves. So I had just finished reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleep by Mark Manson. And this book transformed the way that I looked at things in many, many, many different ways. And actually, a little backstory on what made me read this book. I think I bought this book 2 or 3 years ago because I saw it on some girl's Instagram story. It was a picture of her on the beach reading this book, and my favorite color is orange. And if you've ever seen this book, the whole cover is orange. And it's a very bright orange. It's not my favorite orange, but it's still orange. So it attracted me. And I really liked the title. I was like, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleep. And yes, I do think it is the real F word, but I am trying my hardest not to just be throwing F-bombs around every 5 seconds. So anyways, I bought the book. I was influenced by this picture of this girl reading this book on the beach 2 to 3 years ago. I bought it. I never read it. Then, fast forward to 2025, I launched this podcast. Launching this podcast has been a whole mix of emotions, and although it's something that I've been working on for a while, that I've been thinking about and planning for a long time, and something that I've really wanted to do, life isn't always sunshine and roses. There have been moments, even in the short time that I've had this podcast, where I'm like, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? No one's even listening to this. What's the point? Editing is time consuming. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to be real about that, because what I truly want this to be is raw and no filter and genuinely how I feel. And that does not take away the amazing, beautiful parts and the parts that I love about this. And there are times that I love editing episodes. But yeah, there are times when life gets really busy. Like, I'm doing a ton of things. This was never meant to be another chore, but sometimes it feels that way. And sometimes it's hard to come up with topic ideas. And yeah, it's just crazy. It's just mind-boggling. But one of the things that started to affect me when I first went live was other people's opinions. Now, no one has given a negative opinion. I am blessed in that sense that this podcast is so small that there aren't haters out there who are vocalizing it. And I don't have a whole subreddit dedicated to how awful I am, like some celebrities do. But what I would do is make up scenarios in my head about what I assumed other people were saying about me behind my back. And when you really dissect this, it truly makes no sense. It's like I am literally making up lies in my head. I have no reason to believe this. Everyone that I actually care about in my life has been super supportive. And like, why am I letting this affect me? And I think it might also have to do a lot with the fact that I myself am a very private person. Like, I don't post on social media much. I'm not very vocal about anything. Like, I'm naturally more introverted. I don't know. I like being in my own cocoon, and when I'm around people I'm very comfortable with, I love opening up and I'm like the life of the party. But in any other setting, I'm more so in my own bubble. So then coming out with this podcast and sharing things about my life and opinions I have and whatever was so scary. It was so scary. And I had the ability to initially laser in on what it was, and it's like the fear of being judged, the fear of people's opinions. So as I was gazing on my bookshelf, my eyes landed on The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleep, and I was like, that sounds like exactly what I need right now. So maybe it's time after 2-3 years to give this book a go. I will say it wasn't exactly what I was expecting the book to be, but it did not disappoint nonetheless. I want to read an excerpt from this book, a few excerpts actually, but this is in the very beginning of the book, and this was one of the first moments where I started to think about things differently and the way people act. And because by the title of the book, you think of it as how to not care about anything. Like, let everything roll off your shoulders, nothing bothers you, I'm completely unbothered, I'm a mystic, I'm floating in the clouds, like nothing bothers me. But that is not the case. What Mark writes is that it's really not about not giving a crap about anything. It's actually about what you give a crap about. What is worth your time and energy standing up for, and then the rest, forget about it. So here's the first excerpt, and just a small warning, this book is very swear heavy on the F word, and I just feel like it does not give the same effect if you don't say the swear words. So I'm just gonna say so here we go. Imagine you're at a grocery store and you watch an elderly lady scream at the cashier, berating him for not accepting her 30-cent coupon. Why does this lady give a fuck? It's just 30 cents. I'll tell you why. That lady probably doesn't have anything better to do with her days than to sit at home cutting out coupons. She's old and lonely. Her kids are dickheads and never visit. She hasn't had sex in over 30 years. She can't fart without extreme lower back pain. Her pension is on its last leg, and she's probably going to die in a diaper thinking she's in Candyland. So she snips coupons. That's all she's got. It's her and her damn coupons. It's all she can give a fuck about because there's nothing else to give a fuck about. And so when that pimply-faced 17-year-old cashier refuses to accept one of them, when he defends his cash register's purity the way knights used to defend maidens' virginity, You will bet Granny is going to erupt. 80 years of fucks will rain down all at once, like a fiery hailstorm of back in my day and people used to show more respect stories. The problem with people who hand out fucks like ice cream at a goddamn summer camp is that they don't have anything more fuckworthy to dedicate their fucks to. If you find yourself consistently giving too many fucks about trivial shit that bothers you, your ex-boyfriend's new Facebook picture, how quickly the batteries die in the TV remote, missing out on yet another 2-for-1 sale on hand sanitizer, chances are you don't have much going on in your life to legitimately give a fuck about, and that's your real problem. Not the hand sanitizer, not the TV remote. Okay, this hit me and I realized so many things. So, one, I am the granny. I am the grandmother in that story. I have always thought of myself to be prone to complaint, and it has always annoyed me about myself. Like, on the surface, if we first meet, I am like, oh, everything's great, haha, life is good. And then if we become close friends, or, you know, like with my family or with my significant other, I am just unleashing all of these complaints. I could have had a great day. But the story that I'm unraveling when I get home or when I'm like venting to my close loved ones, it is about the bad. I could find, I remember I was on vacation last year. I was down south laying on the beach. Absolute dream vacation for me, okay? All I need is sunshine and heat and a palm tree and I'm good, all right? I remember getting sand, like I had just gone into the ocean and then I was getting back onto the towel to lay out and tan a little bit, and so my legs were wet, and then I was putting sunscreen back on my legs and the sand was getting on my legs and it was like wet and it was sticky and it was just not working for me. It was like giving me a legit issue, like a sensory issue, and I could not stop complaining about it. I was like, are you serious? Like, what is the sand doing right now? And then I'd be like, I'm hot. And then I go into an air-conditioned gift shop and I'm like, I'm cold. Like, shut up, Dana. Shut up. So that is how I talk to myself sometimes. And anyways, that annoys me about myself. And it's always been something that I've known, but I haven't known how to fix it. And then like I've tried to fix it and I'll go on these like 24-hour journeys where I'll be like, yeah, I am all about positivity now. And then I'll fail like 3 hours in. You know what I mean? And so what that excerpt in this book, and that was just the beginning of it. Like that was on page 17. So everything leading up to that was so good. And what this made so crystal clear to me is that I am completely wasting what I care about. Like I am letting the trivial nonsense become such a big deal in my life when it does not need to. And what really hit me was that last line, the problem with people who hand out fucks like ice cream at a goddamn summer camp is that they don't have anything more fuckworthy to dedicate their fucks to. When I first read that, I was like, okay, wow, that's true. But for me, then I was like, wait, but I'm doing a million gazillion trillion things and there's no way that's even true because there are things that I care about, but it takes a lot of self-reflection to realize where you are in life and that the outside stuff doesn't even matter. Like it does not matter that I graduated college when I was 18 or that I started college when I was 16 or that I have a really cool full-time job and I'm also a realtor and like blah, 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 blah. All of this superficial stuff that I think I have definitely at times put my identity in, that has nothing to do with the things that I care about. Like, let me explain further. So when you have a job or you're working towards school or you have children that you need to take care of, things like that, those are have-tos. So, in order to support myself and pay my bills and live, I have to get up and go to work. And so, although I enjoy my job and I worked hard at a young age to go through college at a young age and like grind, the job is still a job to pay the bills and put food on the table. You know what I mean? So when I'm frustrated with the circumstances of either my life or the way things are going or blah, 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 or let's say I want something else, like I want to live in a different area and I just feel stuck inside. What I've realized is that instead of doing the hard work to get unstuck and to change your life, I just complain about the trivial things. So the sand annoys me when I don't zoom out and put myself into a bigger, overarching perspective and look at it like, hey, if I was back in the office right now and I could transport into this moment where I'm sitting on the beach under a palm tree, I would not complain about the sand sticking to my leg. Like, that is ridiculous. So I think it has a lot to do with perspective, and I lose perspective in different moments. And really, right here on page 17, the excerpt that I just read to you all, this point in the book is where I started to think, wait, what do I care about? And it sounds on the surface like a stupid question, because theoretically, just from looking at people's actions, you should know what they care about, because their actions should align with what they care about. So if you looked at me, for example, you would see that I went through school young. I, grinded, and I started college at 16, and I continued my education, and I've worked jobs, all full-time jobs, all throughout going to college full-time. And I've picked up side gigs, like any side gig there is, I'm usually picking it up. I became a realtor. I run AV events at the school that I work for. I am the union president, like all these things. So someone may look at that and see my busy education, work, lifestyle and say, okay, she really cares about education. She really cares about advancing her career. She really cares about technology because she works in the tech industry. She really cares about making an impact in that space. And deep down, that is not really how I feel at all. There are many aspects that I love about my job, that I love about technology, that I love about my 16-year-old self who decided to grind it out and went to college. There are so many things that I love about every era of myself up until this point, and the decisions that I've made and the people that I've met through these experiences that I've pursued. But they're not the overarching things that I care about. Because if you think about it, we are all living on a floating rock. How many times do I need to say it? You know what I mean? I lose this every day in myself. I forget that we are living on a floating rock that is flying around a solar system. You know what I mean? So genuinely, who cares about the job, about the school, about the side gigs, about it's a balance, because yes, you have to care about that because you have to put food on the table and they're but on the other side, if we're going to get right down to morals and to values in life, those are not my morals and values. That is not what is making me wake up in the morning. And that led me to the question, well, Dana, what does make you wake up in the morning? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe that's why I have trouble getting out of bed in the morning. So throughout reading this book, I struggled with this tug of war inside myself where I was like, all right, this is like a really good book. This is making a lot of sense. but I don't have my metric to measure success. I don't have my own personal values locked in. I don't know what I give a fuck about. You know what I mean? Just to put it point blank. So let me fast forward to the end of the book. Towards the end, this is on page 156 through page 157. This excerpt is what led me to ultimately do what I did with ChatGPT, which I will be telling you in a minute. Here we go. If you're in the midst of an existential shitstorm and everything feels meaningless, if all the ways you used to measure yourself have come up short and you have no idea what's next, if you know that you've been hurting yourself chasing false dreams, or if you know that there's some better metric you should be measuring yourself with, but you don't know how, the answer is the same. Do something. That something can be the smallest viable action towards something else. It can be anything. Recognize that you've been an entitled prick in all of your relationships and want to start developing more compassion for others? Do something. Start simple. Make it a goal to listen to someone's problems and give some of your time to helping that person. Just do it once. Or promise yourself that you will assume that you are the root of your problems next time you get upset. Just try on the idea and see how it feels. That's often all that's necessary to get the snowball rolling, the action needed to inspire the motivation to keep going. You can become your own source of inspiration. You can become your own source of motivation. Action is always within reach, and with simply doing something as your only metric for success, well, then even failure pushes you forward. This stopped me in my tracks. I kid you not. I've talked about it a little on the podcast, but I have severe perfectionism. Not diagnosed, this is self-diagnosed, but it is crazy. And it's not with everything, but it's with a lot of things. And it's with wanting to make the right decision. I have to remind myself over and over and over again that there is no right decision. There is just the next best decision that you can make for yourself. There's no right or wrong. It is just the next best decision that you can make for yourself. And I repeat that to myself, and I repeat it to myself, and sometimes I still cannot grasp it. And I cannot get past my perfectionism and just do something. And that is exactly what this excerpt is saying. Because there was a whole chapter prior to this about motivation and how motivation is basically a false thing because we all sit around waiting for motivation to come to then spark that instinct to go do something. However, motivation typically doesn't come until after the action. So what he's saying here is the action needed to inspire the motivation to keep going. That's what doing something is. And it can literally be anything. It can be getting up and making yourself a sandwich even though it's 3 p.m. and you haven't had lunch yet because you're just stuck in your head. Or it can be finally collecting the clothes on your floor and putting them into the washing machine. Or it can be paying a bill that you've been avoiding. And just anything that you can imagine, doing something is going to spark even more action. So that was towards the end of the book, and like I said earlier, I was already grappling with this question to myself during reading the whole book of what do I care about? What are my values in life? After I read that part, and it was like, do something, anything, do anything. I don't know what it was, but I decided to open up ChatGPT and basically use it as a life coach to help me figure out what my values are in life. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back to my ChatGPT history and I'm going to read you the conversation that I had with AI and how this literally transformed my life. Like, I don't want to be dramatic because this was like 4 days ago and I don't know, but I feel like the action did spark something. Like, the more that time goes by, the more that I'm thinking about it, the more that I'm thinking about the things that I discovered that I do value in life, and the more that I'm seeing in real time my actions change and me develop into the person that I've always wanted to be, but never knew what the roadmap was. Like, I was like, I'm here, I know I want to be there, but I don't know how to get there. So this is exactly what I typed into ChatGPT. I need help figuring out what my values are in life, what I do and don't give a fuck about. I just read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, and I feel inspired to really hone in on what my life values are. I want to make sure I measure success by metrics that I can control. For example, being a loving daughter or something like that. Help me figure out what those are, quiz me or something so that we can find out. This is what ChatGPT said to me. Hell yes, I love that energy. Mark Manson's book is a great kick in the ass to start getting intentional about what you actually care about and what bullshit you need to drop. Let's get deep and a little raw here. I'll throw you some questions that'll help reveal what matters to you, not what society or anyone else tells you should matter. Answer these honestly and we'll piece together your core values from your answers. Ready? Then it lists out 10 questions that are so deep. Like, these questions are so deep, okay? And then at the end, it says, answer what you can and I'll help you extract the real, personal, actionable values out of your responses. Ones you can use as a compass. Want to go one by one or all at once? So at this point, I was like, all right, these are a lot of questions. It would be easier to go one by one. So I said, one by one, please. And here's the first question that it asked me. When was the last time you felt really proud of yourself? What were you doing? Take a second to think about what you did, not what someone else told you was impressive. What lit you up inside? Now, as you're listening and as I'm going through these questions and my answers to the questions, I want you to think about what your answers would be to the questions, because I genuinely think that this can transform your life if you also hone in on what your values are, what you actually care about, because it's going to change everything. It's crazy the way that we can kind of just start going through life in autopilot and being people that we don't necessarily want to be, or reacting in ways that we don't want to react, or pursuing entire careers, or being in relationships that do not align with who we truly are because we don't even know who we truly are. What I want you to do is just think what your answers would be to these questions. So my answer here was when I'm kind to my family and anyone around me. For example, last weekend I had an extra coupon at the store I was in. I didn't need it, but I found an older woman to give it to, hopefully to save her some money. I was scared to go up and talk to a stranger, but I forced myself to do it, and I was so proud of myself. Then ChatGPT said, that's beautiful and so real. The fact that you felt proud, not because anyone applauded you, but because you were kind and brave enough to push through fear, says a lot. What I'm hearing, kindness is a core value for you, especially when it's active, not just feeling warm inside, but doing something. Courage is important to you, not loud or flashy courage, but quiet internal bravery that pushes you to act despite discomfort. You value generosity and helpfulness, especially when it makes someone else's life a little easier. Let's keep that in our back pocket. Ready for question 2? Then it asks me question 2, which is, what's something you would do even if no one ever noticed or praised you for it? I said, organize. I love to organize. Sometimes my family does praise me for it when it helps them, but even if no one ever did, I love organizing and it calms me. Then ChatGPT said, love that. That's such a clear, honest answer and a big clue. Here's what that tells us. Order and clarity matter to you, not just physically, but probably mentally and emotionally too. You value creating calm from chaos, turning something messy into something beautiful or functional. Internal fulfillment matters more to you than external praise in this area. You're intrinsically motivated when something aligns with who you are. So far, you've got a strong mix of values around inner peace, helpfulness, and quiet strength. So before we move on, I just want to talk about these first 2 questions a little more deeply. So when I was answering these, I took each question very seriously and I made it a point to be as honest and as raw about myself as I possibly could be. And that was hard. So to answer question 2, what's something that you would do even if no one ever noticed or praised you for it? That took me a few minutes to sit there and be like, um, because I don't know how many things that I do that don't result in praise. Like, I don't know how many things that I do that are motivated by just me truly enjoying it. Because honestly, for the past few years, you go to college because you care about a career or a major and blah, blah, blah. And you work a job low key, usually because you have to. And all of these things ended up leading, to praise, obviously from like my family or whatever. Thankfully, and I'm so blessed that I have family that, motivates me and praises me for my accomplishments. But it was hard to sit there and be like, what do just I like to do? Forget the praise. If no one ever saw it, what do I like to do? And I don't believe that organizing is the only answer, but it is the first one that came to my mind. And I was like, yeah, I could sit and organize my room all day long. I love, just like ChatGPT summarized, I love making calmness and bringing order to chaos. And yeah, it's not just physical, it's mental too. That's what I'm constantly trying to do in my life. That's what I do on this podcast usually, where I bring a topic that has been in my life or something that I've thought about for so long, and I try to organize it and break it down into concise points. Question 3 is, if someone told you they hated how you lived your life, what criticism would actually sting, even just a little? And then I didn't really understand exactly what this question was asking, so I said, can you explain this question in a little more detail? And then it said, we're not looking for what people actually say about you, but rather, if someone criticized the way you live, what kind of comment would hit a nerve? Not because it's true necessarily, but because it would go against something you deep down care about. For example, if someone said, you're so selfish, and that hurt, it might mean being generous or selfless is important to you. If someone said, you're lazy and don't work hard, and that made you defensive, it might mean you value discipline or perseverance. It's less about the insult and more about what you don't want to be mistaken for. So, what kind of criticism like that would sting you a little? This was my response. The first thing that I think of is yesterday someone close to me saying how they expected me to have absolutely mastered my new job within a year. But now we are a little over a year, and it is not completely mastered. This started to really frustrate me because a lot of my job is reporting that only happens once a year. So when I first learned these reports last year, it didn't necessarily stick because I was so new to everything and I'm not doing them every single day. The things I do every day, I have mastered. I just feel like there is so much with my job and I've been working so hard the past year to grasp it all. When I first started, I knew nothing. I didn't even understand the basic terminology. I'm in a much better place now, but I do not have it all mastered like this person was saying. Also, it stings when people say I'm negative or mean, and I think that's because deep down, I'm very critical of myself, and I do have a tendency to veer on the negative side, so it makes me scared that that's who I really am, but I don't want to be. I also fear people mistaking my success for just being a quote-unquote lawyer's daughter, even though my mom has worked extremely hard to be where she is. So then ChatGPT said, this is so insightful and honestly beautifully self-aware. You just gave me a gold mine of clarity into your core values. Let me reflect back what I'm seeing. 1. Growth and mastery matter deeply to you. You've been grinding, learning, improving, and you care about that. The fact that criticism about not having mastered your job stung tells me that you value continuous growth, you hold yourself to high standards, not perfection, but real mastery through effort. And you want to be recognized for your hard work, not just outcomes. You measure success by effort, learning, and progress, not by other people's timelines. That's a big value. 2, you value being kind, not just being seen as nice. When someone calls you negative or mean, it hits hard, not because you are those things, but because you actively work not to be. You want to be a force of good. You want to make people feel safe and cared for. So you value compassion, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness. You also value self-control, being mindful of how your energy affects others. And let's be real, the fact that you're aware of your own negativity means you're not a negative person. You're a person who gives a fuck about being better. That's literally what ChatGPT is now swearing at me. But no, honestly, when I was reading that part, the part about the fact that you're aware of your own negativity means you're not a negative person, I like literally started tearing up because it really just hits home for me. It's like when you're in your 20s, like, let's be real, so much is already going on and you're trying to find yourself and there's so many changes and there's so many questions and there's so many decisions that you need to make. It's the same, we hear it all the time on every podcast and book and TV show about being a 20-year-old. When do I move out of my parents' house? Do I marry this person or do I not marry this person? Do I continue in the major that I first picked that my parents want me to do, or do I not? Do I travel the world on a credit card and get sucked into major credit card debt, or do I work and save money and not go anywhere? You know what I mean? Like, there's already so much going on in your 20s, and early 20s, your brain is literally still developing. I think for me, I usually take it a step further because I just want to be this perfect version of myself that I envision. I want that now. And I think I'm very hard on myself and don't realize that that takes consistency and practice. And in the meantime, I am very hard on myself. I'm just like, oh, I'm a bad person. I'm like a mean person, blah, blah, blah. But ChatGPT reminded me that the fact that I'm just aware of this means that I'm not a negative person, which is so true. Like, if you're really, truly like a negative person, like, think of the most negative person in your life who's just grumpy all the time, blah, blah, blah. Think of them. And how often are they admitting that they're a negative person? How often are they talking about not wanting to be a negative person? Usually not that often. And the third point that ChatGPT gave me was you crave earned success, not inherited credit. The part about your mom being a lawyer, that shows how much you want your accomplishments to be yours. You value independency, authenticity, and earning your way forward. You want to be seen as someone who built their life, not rode on someone else's coattails, which is very true, but this is not in a way of like needing my independence from my parents and like, oh, my mom's a lawyer, I will never be a lawyer. I need to forge my own path. Like that is not what I mean by this. What I mean is that, again, going back to me getting in my own head and assuming what other people are thinking about me when I'm not in other people's brains. I'm just assuming this. Like, I just don't want people to think of me as like, oh, she's so successful at a young age because her mother's a lawyer. She must have had like connections and blah, 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 blah. And while I owe a lot of my success to my parents for motivating me and being there for me in like the low moments and the high moments and all of the moments, I just hate how judgmental people can be towards other people because of the circumstances that they were born into. Like, I do it myself. If I see someone who has like 2 doctors for parents and like granddaddy owned some like insurance agency and they have like a $5 million trust just like waiting for them when grandpappy passes away, that is annoying. And it's just like, all right, what have you actually worked for? You know what I mean? How much of this has just been handed to you? And I think I have worked so hard. Like the blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into like just what I was describing earlier in my job, figuring out my job in the past year, learning the things that I've learned. Like, my mom did not hand me that. You know what I mean? Like, that's just ridiculous. Yeah, and again, literally no one's ever said that to me, but I guess I just assume that because my mom is a badass, kick-ass lawyer, that people think that I have just like been handed things my whole life, when in reality it has been quite the opposite. My parents went out of their way to help me appreciate things. Like, I was not handed a phone. I was not handed a car. I had to work. I had to go to work at a restaurant or a grocery store or whatever else crappy job that I could get at that time. And when I say my parents went out of their way, I mean like it would have been a lot easier for my parents to just drop a few $1,000s, buy me a car, throw me on their insurance, and send me on their way. Instead, they had to drive me to school, to work, everywhere, so that I could make this money to be able to buy my own car, buy my own cell phone, pay for my own, phone bill, and be on my own insurance. I mean, that is a huge expense especially when you're young and a new driver and these insurance companies like don't trust you. So it's like $1,500 every 6 months. And I had to do all of that completely on my own. Like there was no option. Like no one was buying me a car. No one was buying me a phone. And those are like the two big things when you're a teenager, a phone and a car. So yeah, I guess I just feel like I've worked for so much and I want that to be appreciated and not just assumed that I've been handed everything because my mom's a lawyer. But again, this is just like an imaginary thing that I've created in my head. No one has ever said that to me, like ever. And if they did, I shouldn't even care. If someone had the like immaturity to, for whatever reason, like comment something or come up to me and be like, oh, well, you're just successful because your mother's a lawyer, then it's like, you have stuff to work on in life, yeah, maybe you need to read this book. The fourth question was, you get one free day, no responsibilities, no pressure, what do you do? And I said, well, it really depends where I am and what the circumstances are. For example, if I'm on vacation at one of my favorite places, I'd spend the day exploring, napping on the beach, swimming, reading a book. I absolutely love that. But if I'm back home, I live in a place where the weather is shitty besides the 2 nice summer months. So currently it's April and it's 36 degrees, freezing and raining out. Today actually is a free day for me, and what I did was I chose to get a few chores done so that I wasn't neglecting them and had that off my plate. Then I chose to read a bit of a book and do this work on figuring out what my values are. I may watch a movie later, etc., but I much rather prefer the scenario of being on vacation. ChatGPT said, that totally makes sense and actually says a lot. You're adaptable, thoughtful with your time, and you don't waste a free day even when the weather or life sucks. Question 5. What's something people often come to you for help with? I said, depends who it is. My boyfriend comes to me for help figuring out college, applying to jobs, or interviewing, etc. My dad comes to me for help organizing. My brother comes to me with help when our parents have annoyed him. My friends come to me asking for advice on how they're feeling. ChatGPT said, this is huge. You just revealed a ton about what people see in you, and more importantly, what you offer naturally. You're a trusted emotional anchor. People come to you when they need to talk, vent, or process emotions. This shows that you're emotionally safe to be around and you value connection, understanding, and being present with others. You're naturally empathetic and you probably read people well. When I read this, I was like, yeah, that is so true. And I never even realized that. So that was pretty cool. And then also it said that I'm a supportive problem solver and that I adapt my strengths to fit the need. Job coaching, emotional support, physical organizing, you show up whenever someone needs you. Which is true. Question 6. What types of people annoy the hell out of you and why? I said, people with huge egos that think they know it all. Also, people my age who have parents with money and have never had to work for a single thing in their life. I know deep down that they probably don't have the best morals and values and don't respect anything because they haven't had to work for it. But I still feel it's so unfair that they get to go travel to crazy places or afford really nice things or not have to work a job. People who negatively criticize me, but I know it isn't because they love me, and instead it's for their own gain to try to put me down. People who are always in a bad mood and complain, which I fear I can be sometimes. ChatGPT said, this one is powerful and a little raw, which is exactly what we want. When something really annoys you, it's usually because it violates a value you deeply hold. Here's what this reveals. You deeply value humility and authenticity. People with big egos, they grate on you because you value staying grounded. You don't just dislike arrogance, you reject the idea of people thinking they're better than others without having earned it. You believe respect should be earned, not assumed, and you value people who are real, not performative. That is so true. And I never necessarily knew why this annoyed me so much with like people who like just think they're better than everyone else. But this unlocked it in my own brain where it makes sense. It's like, that's ridiculous. We are all human. That's ridiculous. We are human. I don't care if you're a million trillion gazillionaire, and I don't care if you're literally homeless on the street. We are all God's children, okay? There's no need to be acting more than because you have a Gucci belt. Okay, like, who are you on the inside? That's what I care about. Who are you on the inside? Because that says a lot more than the belt that you can buy. ChatGPT also said that I value hard work and self-reliance. It said that frustration about people who have everything handed to them, that's a big clue. You don't just respect people who work hard, you identify with it, you've lived it. You also crave respectful honesty, not cruelty disguised as truth. Criticism from someone who clearly doesn't care about your growth, that hits hard because 1, you want feedback, but only when it's rooted in love, not ego. 2, you value mutual respect and intention behind words. You're not afraid of tough love, but it better come from a place of actual love. This is so valid. I have had so many situations in my career so far where people who I would think have the best out for me don't. And I'm very sensitive to that in the sense where I can pick it up like immediately. Like, I know that you don't have the best intentions for me and you're trying to make it look like this is like tough love right now. Like, oh, no, you shouldn't do this because like I'm just telling you, like it wouldn't be, like it's just going to be so much work. Like you don't want that, and this has honestly been happening my whole life, not with any of my family, but people that you think are your allies and they're not. They're just not. Or it's coming from their own emotional immaturity where they just can't get over the fact that you have an opportunity to excel and grow and move in life, and they want to hold you back. They want to emotionally mess with you to hold you back. I pick on that up on that so fast and it immediately turns me off. I'm like, yeah, no. I'm really doing it now. Now I'm really doing it. But on the other hand, my parents specifically, their advice always comes from love. Even if it's what I don't want to hear, I know it's from love, and I respect and appreciate that so much. And I think that moral value, me growing up with that my whole life, has given me such a strong compass on the inside to be able to determine if someone actually has their best interest in me or not. Question 7. When do you feel most like yourself, most in alignment, most right in your skin? And I said, when I am in the sun, down south, usually on vacation. And I really don't think it's just because I'm on vacation. I think it's the difference in weather. Everyone is sunny and vibrant, and people are different and always outside. My whole family wants to move down south, and we all feel best down there. But there are blocks for that right now that make me feel stuck. I feel the most right in my skin when I'm being kind, choosing the hard thing when it is ultimately the right thing, and being in the sun. ChatGPT said, you thrive in environments that feel alive. The sun, the warmth, the way people are down south, it lights you up. This isn't just about geography, it's about energy. You're pulled toward lightness, community, vibrancy, and a sense of freedom and openness. That means you value more than just comfort. You value alignment between your outer environment and your inner self. You want to feel alive, not just exist. Again, this unlocked in something inside of me because I have always had the sense that I am living in the wrong place. I live up north. It is warm like 2 months out of the year, and then the rest of the year it is just cold. It's either mildly cold or it's absolutely freezing. And I hate it. I hate it. And I am currently working through ways to enjoy it more. Like, for example, this past winter, I started skiing and I did really enjoy that. And it made me appreciate the winter and the snow and the cold in a new way. But really, I feel the best down south. And I did always struggle with this because, or like not even down south, but just in the heat. Again, sun, warmth, and a palm tree, and I'm good. But I always kind of struggled with this because I was like, I understand the concept of a location isn't going to change everything in your life. Like, you can't just run away from your problems. The problems that you have in one location are just going to follow you to the next. And so this description of how I feel is so accurate. It isn't just the physical location, it's the energy. It's the fact that it's warm out most of the year, so you can go outside and be physically active, and everything is bright and everything's alive, and it is the energy. There's trees and there's flowers, and they're not dying after 2 months because it's so cold that they have to die, and birds aren't flocking away, and animals aren't hibernating. Everything is alive always, and I love that. And this kind of just made me feel better and more firm in the way that I feel about that. Question 8. If you could make one difference in the world, big or small, what would it be and why? I said, I would love for everyone, including myself, to live real life way more than scrolling on social media and being consumed by the internet. I believe that this would cause a ripple effect. People would be more alive and excited and active. Friendships would be deeper, etc. ChatGPT said, that's such a grounded and powerful vision. You deeply value presence. You're not just craving less screen time, you're craving more life. You believe in the power of small changes to create big ripples. That says you believe deeply in collective well-being, human potential, and restoring joy and connection in a disconnected world. You also want to be part of what heals, not what numbs. That shows you're not afraid to go against the grain if it means living a richer, more meaningful life and helping others do the same. You're someone who wants to build a life rooted in real relationships, self-awareness, and intentional choices. This connects beautifully with your earlier values. Question 9. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Not in a famous way, more like, what do you want people who knew you to say about you when you're not in the room? I said, I want people to say that I helped them see life in a different, better way. I want them to say I'm full of life and constantly grew and worked on that. That I had fears, but I didn't let them stop me. I worked through every hard thing. I want them to say I was funny, that I made their hard days easier, that I inspired them, that I was kind, and that I never made anyone feel less than. ChatGPT said, this is beautiful and so full of heart. What you just described is a legacy of impact through authenticity. You don't want to impress people, you want to elevate them. You don't want to be remembered as flawless, but rather as brave, resilient, and real. You don't just value kindness, you value compassion with personality. You don't want to just be nice, you want to be genuine, uplifting, and unforgettable. And finally, the 10th and last question. If your life were a movie, what's the message or theme you'd want the audience to walk away with after the credits roll? I love this question, guys. This was my response. I'd want people to feel the balance between living fully and doing the quote-unquote normal things like working a job, getting married, etc. I don't like how it's two extremes on the internet. Basic 9-to-5 worker until you die, or crazy traveler in a new country every day. I want people to feel at ease that it's all going to be okay. I want people to feel inspired to be kind to each other and realize how one act of kindness ripples so far and changes many people's lives. I want them to feel strength to work through their fears. ChatGPT said, that is powerful, and honestly, it might be the perfect note to end on, because that is the theme of your life. When I went through these last time, I was sobbing. I was sobbing towards the end, because this is work that I have never done. This is work that I have never done. And anyways, ChatGPT went on to summarize everything, give me my core values, and then 2 other lists of things that I do and don't care about, and then a list of my new metrics for success and some final thoughts. So I'm not going to bore you with all of the different values. I mean, I'm sure you can pretty much pick up on them through the answers that I gave, but here's what ChatGPT says I don't give a crap about anymore and won't let define my worth anymore. People who criticize you just to feel powerful. Performative success that isn't earned. Ego-driven conversations or one-upping culture. Being mistaken for someone who had it easy. The idea that you need to be perfect to be good enough. Being anyone other than your real self. And then it says my new metrics for success. It says you're no longer measuring life by external praise, status, or aesthetics. Your real markers of success look like being a loving daughter, partner, friend, and human. Choosing courage over comfort. Helping someone feel seen or understood. Doing something kind when no one's watching. Living a life you don't need to escape from. And laughing a lot. And its final thought, it said, you don't need to burn your life down to build a meaningful one. You just need to live every day with the values you already hold sacred. You are already that person. You're just giving yourself permission to show up as her fully. Oh my goodness gracious, you guys. This, in the past few days, has been in my head on repeat. I'm sort of using these new metrics for success and rethinking every decision that I make based upon them. And I will be completely honest that this is not easy. And I'm trying to be easy with myself and not get hard on myself and be like, oh, well, you were just snappy with your mom. So clearly you're still not a good person. You know what I mean? I'm trying not to do that. Because what I'm realizing is that the person that I've been for the past 21 years has become a habit. And that was a worked on habit, like a subconscious habit that was created over 21 years. And change is not easy. And it's the small wins that I'll take. Like I have noticed myself intentionally going out of my way to do something nice. Like with the lady who I gave the coupon with at the store, that was before that I did this exercise, but things like that are happening more, where I'm thinking to myself, oh, I picked up this bag of shrimp, but now I'm not buying it. I'm not gonna just set it by the hamburgers. I'm gonna go put it back where it belonged, in the shrimp aisle. You know what I mean? Just small things like that I would not do. I'd pick up a shirt at a store and I wouldn't even try it on, but I'd decide later that I didn't like it, and then I'd put it down somewhere randomly instead of putting it back where it goes. Things like that, I'm just thinking more about, like, it makes me feel good as a person to put it back where it goes because I know that I'm making someone's life easier. Some poor person whose story I don't know. I mean, it could be anything. Their husband could have just died, or they could be a teenager and their parents could have disowned them and they're working at this retail store in order to support themselves to live in a crappy apartment, and like I'm making their life easier because I'm putting my shirt back where it belongs. And at the end of their shift, they don't have to run around the store and find where that shirt was supposed to go. You see what I mean? Things like that deeply fulfill me, and it has nothing to do with external validation. It doesn't matter if anyone ever saw me doing any of those things. It makes me feel good as a person. This has been really helpful. It honestly has me thinking so much. Like today, I was getting a massage, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but if you've ever had a massage, you're kind of just, laying there face down while someone is massaging you. And it really depends on what mood you're in, on how the experience goes. Because if I'm overthinking or already like ruminating on something or having a bad day, then I'm just thinking about that more during the massage. But today I kind of went with like an open mind, like just a blank mind, like, and I was like, whatever comes to me, comes to me. So I started thinking more about what I did with ChatGPT and like how pivotal this was. Like, you know how much money I would have had to spend to go to like a life coach, or it really was a helpful tool. And don't get me wrong, like I do not believe that we should just be using AI for everything. I believe that, like, I'm not saying that AI is my therapist now. That's not what I'm saying. And there is so much value in real people giving you real wisdom from real life experiences and the work and the studying that they've done. So that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying replace your therapist with AI, but it can be used as such a tool to help you navigate your own thoughts sometimes. Maybe you're in between therapy sessions or your therapist is on vacation or something. Like, it was just really, really helpful. And so I started thinking to myself, I was like, well, I started thinking about my future and, you know, I'm going on for my master's in the fall and what that's going to look like and how it aligns with my future goals. And it dawned on me, I was like, I could ask ChatGPT and be like, hey, act like the world's best life coach and ask me questions that will help me reflect deeper on what I really want in life, etc., etc., etc. See what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just, yeah, I still stand very firm on my opinions of, and there are ways that ChatGPT should not be used. Writing, sorry, if you're writing a book with ChatGPT, I cannot. I can't with people who think they're like hiding that and just typing in, write me a book, blah, blah, blah. Stop. I don't want to read AI books. I want a raw author's book. That's what I want. I don't want AI writing a book. If you're using AI to write your book, please stop. It's unethical. Or like art and stuff like that. Sorry, this is a whole debate and we are at the end of this episode. Give AI a try with your values. Take these questions that it asked me and ask them yourself. Do this little practice yourself and see what comes of it. And just like in Mark's book, one action, doing something, it snowballs into something else. You make one decision to just go to a coffee shop. You could meet someone that could change your life. And I don't even mean romantically. I mean, one person could spark a conversation with you and they could know an investor who would be interested in investing in the exact business that you want to start. You know, anything can happen. Life has so many possibilities. It is so easy to just get trapped and stuck and go to work and come home and just feel depressed. And I've been there. I was there 3 weeks ago. Hold on to these moments where you feel the expansion of everything and how much possibility there actually is. Because I promise you, it's out there. We just have to keep reminding each other that it's there. I hope you have a great rest of your week. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow along on Instagram at The Lot of It Podcast. New episodes are available pretty much everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, etc. They're also on YouTube. And I cannot wait to see you next time. New episodes every other Wednesday.